Maybe just to kickstart the conversation, I'm sure some people will be asking the Ghana Library Authority, and sometimes people don't get to hear so much about the space that you occupy. As CEO, tell me, what per the law does the Ghana Library Authority do?
Okay, so Ghana Library Authority is one of the oldest public institutions in Ghana, established in 1950 by an act of Parliament of Ghana. So actually the second oldest public institution established by law after Cocoa Board. And since 1950, the mandate has been the same, to establish, of course, to equip, maintain, and manage public libraries in Ghana. Emphasis on public libraries, because often the time people get confused about what public libraries are and what school libraries are. But the law establishes us to manage, maintain, equip, and maintain public libraries in Ghana. And so really, if you pick each of the items within the object of the law, then it's quite clear, the mandate within it. So established, so of course we do, whether through government or partnerships, we do establish static library environment. Of course, now with establishment, you consider we also establish, say, digital platforms that enable citizens to be connected to knowledge. And then also we equip those spaces. So often at times also you get people coming to us that they've managed to be able to establish a library and a building, and they want to hand over to Ghana Library Authority to equip it and manage such facilities. So we do equipping of these spaces also to be able to also make them the spaces available to the Ghanaian public. Then we also, of course, maintain those spaces. I mean, as a normal institution that, of course, have these number of libraries across the world, you're supposed to be maintaining and managing them, employing people, providing the resources for day-to-day operations. So these are some of the, specific areas that per the mandate of the law we do undertake. But of course, in being able to connect citizens' knowledge, the static library at that time, that was really the mindset of the what do we call it? The wisdom behind, the mandate in establishing the authority. And over the years, it has also metamorphosed into, of course, providing digital platforms to connect citizens to knowledge.
Of course, now things have gone digital.
Yes.
And social media is thriving. So.
Yes. And then you also have, vans. Of course, mobile library vans also that we use in connecting citizens. And then we also have a book box program that we give to schools and other educational institutions also to be able to make these resources available to the Ghanaian public. Beside the connecting of citizens to knowledge role, which I have demonstrated the means that we undertake those exercises, we are also the institution responsible for ISO certification for books, which is the International Standard Book Numbers.
Oh, I see.
International Standard Music
in Ghana.
In Ghana. And so we do the issuance of those, and also per law, we are also responsible for taking legal deposit. So all published materials, by law, you're supposed to make deposit of them to be kept by the Ghana Library Authority for reference, purposes. And so we are also responsible for that. We also are the ones responsible for the compilation of the Ghana National Bibliography, which is the compilation of all written materials by Ghanaians about Ghana. And also that exercise is also we also undertake that exercise on behalf of the state.
Permit me to digress a bit, because I'm an author myself. I don't know whether you're aware of that, but the royalties system when it comes to authors, I've noticed that over the years, in fact the last few years, it has dwindled. There are years when it hasn't come through, and even after COVID hit, it became problematic. Do you have any idea? Would you happen to be linked to that in any way?
No, I have no business doing with
it's just Copy Ghana, right? It's just Copy Ghana.
Copyright officer, that they are responsible for that. But for us, by law, we just take the legal deposit of the written resources, whether newspaper, whether books, as in printed materials. We take the legal deposit, curate it for reference purposes,
right?
And it's made available to the Ghanaian public.
Now, you've spoken about the boxes that you make available to institutions, I mean the mobile units and all of that. But I'd like to find out from you. We've had this conversation before. I just want to bring attention to it again. The Children's Library in the airport enclave around the Zenith Bank. Is it functioning? Is it active? I mean, I've been on you on this matter before, so I just want to go back. I've passed by that place a few times, but I've never been in there.
You should go in there. It's a beautiful place. It's been open for about We are in August, about almost 8 months now.
Okay.
So yes, it's open.
So
to the
this
public.
year?
I
That
think
means at the start
December,
of the
was it
year?
December?
Or was it late
February,
last year?
February, I think early this year. So it's been open to the public, and we have over 20,000 books. There are over 50 computers in there. We have conference room, play areas for kids, all age groups. We have resources available to them, and it's amazing the number of people patronizing. That public.
What are the
library.
numbers like?
So for airports,
And I'm not just talking, the elite groupings, because this already, if you find it in airport, residential, or Roman Bridge, and all of that. I'm talking about those from the other side of town, because the interesting part of that community, you have Roman Ridge Airport on one end, and on the very next end you have the Candes and the Nimes and the pig farm. So
probably, let me use this opportunity to probably give you a bit of a global view of what used to exist and where we are now. So when I took over Ghana Library Authority in January 2018, we used to have just 61 public libraries across the country.
61.
61. On the shelves of these libraries were less than 400,000 books. But take you to 1981, we had 36 libraries, and on the shelf was 1,049,000.
Wow.
So if you look at the drop in books on the shelf for public libraries, vis-a-vis the fact that we had said we've increased the number of footprint by 25, then you could appreciate that we were really in crisis when it comes to public library services in Ghana. And so from 2018, working with the board, we came up with a strategic plan, 5-year strategic plan. The idea was to accelerate really the footprint of public libraries in Ghana and make sure that we have enough books on the shelves of these public libraries. Then we can talk about patronage, because the argument or the rhetoric they don't even hear about us. Create a conducive environment. So first, we started to be able, and then, by the way, patronage as at 2017 was just around 300,000
a year.
a year.
Okay.
But fast forward, as of today, we have 118 libraries within the network of public libraries in Ghana. On the shelf of 118, we have over 1.4 million books on the shelves of this.
So you've added about 400,000 or less to the count that initially we had around independence.
We've added up over 1 million.
No, I'm saying that the figure you gave before the drop.
Yes.
So you've added on to that.
Yeah, 1981 drop.
You've added to that number. At least now we've made progress.
We've made very significant progress. And guess what has happened? We've managed to increase patronage, which was just around 300,000, to now, by the end of this year, we are projecting to hit 2 million.
Okay.
So what does this tell us? It tells us that as a country, if we commit to be able to expand the network of public libraries, what it means is that we will be getting closer to our users.
Right.
Fill your shelves with the right relevant resources, and naturally people will be attracted to these spaces, because trust me, if you visit a library 1-2 and the book you are looking for, you don't find them. Of course,
once the content is there, people will be attracted, and then by word of mouth, you would also hear people talk about, oh, I got this from that place, and then that cycle continues.
Exactly. And we did a whole restructuring of the organization, created a whole team responsible for promotion and engagement with our audience, and by that, we've managed to increase by this margin.
So tell me, do you then agree when people say the reading culture in Ghana is non-existent, that Ghanaians don't like reading? From what you've just told me, is it then that the opportunity or the environment hasn't been created for people to cultivate the habit, or is it that Ghanaians tend to shy away from reading? Which is it? From what you've just told me, what's then?
I disagree with
reading?
The school of thought that Ghanaians don't like reading. I think the right environment and atmosphere has not been created. I have met very elite people, very senior public officials that continue to refer to me, oh, who reads these days? Everything is on the computer. They don't see the significance of public libraries. Finland, which has about 7 million or so people, has got over 800 public libraries. Within every 3-kilometer radius, you can find 70% of their public libraries. And this is a country with almost 100% internet penetration. Martin Luther King Public Library in Washington, D.C. was just opened just last year. Washington, D.C. is one of the most connected places on this earth.
It's a hub of everything, technology especially.
Dubai, they've just commissioned the Library of the Future. Even these countries that have everything, or even the citizens have the resources to be able to buy whatever books that they have, are still building and setting up libraries for their citizens. Historically, in 1970, there was a research done by Ghana Library Authority, British Council, and the Ministry of Education to really understand why Ghanaians, the perception out there is that Ghanaians don't read. And one of the outcomes was that we have a very poor school library system in this country. So it's not a recent issue. I mean, it's been historical from the 50s, 60s, 70s. We build schools, we've refused to set up libraries, we refuse to put in the book resources, we even refuse to have professionals to even go to the schools to manage the libraries in the schools. And so you can go to most of our schools across the country and ask them if they have a professional school librarian available. And it's zero.
What is the status now? Because you've made me cast my mind back to my secondary school days, and yes, I, together with a handful of others, you would often find us, and the African writers, the Heinemann classics, and all of those. In fact, some of us are able to do what we do and know some of the things we know because of these books we read. The Ngugi wa Thiongos, the Amatai Dus, the Buchi Emechetas, and all the other African writers. I mean, it was something. On the other hand, when I came home, together with some other friends, you would read the Western authors, the John Grishams, the Sidney Sheldons. My own father had quite an expansive library. But those bits in school also kept you, they added something. So I remember you would go, they would stamp, you would go, read, return it, would have conversations on them. Obviously, if you don't have that kind of system, that's where
you
starts,
don't build a culture. So in 1970, after that research work, there was then a policy direction for a department to be set up at the Ghana Library Authority called the Schools and College Library Department. And so those experiences you had in school was from that work, because they started to equip all school libraries in the country. There was a whole acquisition done for all school libraries in the country. Trained personnel were managing school libraries in the country, and these school libraries became the de facto reference point for teachers, people who are teaching the students, and the students themselves. So libraries don't only serve the student, but it's also serve the teaching community. Unfortunately, over the years, we've neglected that department. We don't provide that department with the resources to be operate, as it were. And not until 2018, when the then Minister of Education, Dr. Matthew Poku Prempeh, gave a policy direction for us to bring that department back, for us to do a comprehensive assessment of all senior high school libraries in the country, which was undertaken. And out of that assessment and recommendation, we then started to equip senior high schools across the country.
So that department is back?
It's back.
It's up and running?
It's up and running.
Is it being given the proper funding, logistically, human resource,
of course,
monetary resources?
Of course, just with many interventions.
Bottlenecks.
It does not have all the resources, but at least it had, from 2018 to at least 2020, before COVID, it had enough resources to be able to undertake the exercise it had to undertake. And so if we really want to build a culture of reading, you don't even just only tackle at the senior high school level, but also at the basic level. So right from class 1, class 2 to GHS 3, we expect that schools will have libraries, at least one professional there to be able to support, to support the students to be able to have access to the resources that they require at their age, because you know at that level you also need appropriate level, you know, books for them. At the Ghana Library Authority, we have children's library sections, and so these children's library sections understand that, of course, we don't have an expansive reach in the country, and so these departments offer the book box program, and so this book box program allow us to go to schools, of course, who don't have the libraries, so that we can be able to make some of our resources available to the schools. It's not enough, and we want to really be able to do more. That is why in 2018 we made a case for the inclusion of public libraries as part of the KPIs within the Education Strategic Plan, which was, of course, the first time that you found library making its way into an Education Strategic Plan of this country. And then within that strategic plan, we envisage to have, you know, 540 public libraries in the country by 2030. And so,
are you on course for that?
Yes, of course.
Where do we find ourselves currently?
Moving from 61 now to 118. At least we are making headway. We are hoping that by the close of this year, we would have added about 5 new libraries to the existing network. If we progress around our lines, we're able to get clearance to be able to recruit the required personnel. We're able to, you know, raise the quantum of financial resources to be able to acquire more books on our shelves, be able to also import more books, because I mean you have to have a blend of both books from all over the world. If we are able to do all of that, yes, I'm sure we should be able to even exceed the target.
So a few things come to mind. I just want straight answers on this, but over the years, you know, the reading standards, for example, in school, and it's also partly because books are not available. So even if you do a comparative between private institutions and public institutions, you would see that the reading abilities of pupils and students are different.
Yes.
I mean, I've had opportunity of being a visiting official to some of these international institutions, and when you're there, you can tell that, look, some of those institutions at, let's say, even the secondary level, comparatively to students in certain major universities here, you find a sort of disparity comparatively.
Yes.
So UN reports over time have shown that reading capacity, ability among our young ones is problematic.
Oh yes, I mean,
and it is clear partly on the back of some of these challenges. So then I ask, with this department now being formed to target institutions, how many institutions now have been aided? I mean, I just want your brief thoughts on that. Have been aided to set up libraries, to have at least some capacity in that end?
Oh, you mean, so for senior high schools, we've done training for about 710 senior high schools across the country. We've managed to, as of today, equip about 80 of them. Okay. Of these senior high schools across.
Is my very own Bishop Herman College one of them? Else you'll be picking a fight with me.
Not that I could recall, but if you can see me in chambers.
So I'm pitching on live television for my alma mater, Bishop Herman College in Pando.
We can take a look.
I'm even mentioning the name of the place so you don't forget.
No
Pando,
Pando, we have a library there. If the branch librarian is watching, I mean, he should just get in touch and get some. We just got about 40 feet container of new books arriving today. So we are happy to make some resources available through you to the school.
Right. Let's talk about Ghana being the book capital.
Accra.
And yes, Accra being the book capital of the world, and what that means for us, and how the Ghana Library Authority is feeding into that, because this is big.
Yes. So previously, Ghana has been making an attempt to host the World Book Capital, but it has not been successful. But 2021, something happened. Ghana Library Authority, because of the enormous work we've done, been able to expand the network of public libraries, been able to retool our existing libraries, refurbish them, put in a lot more materials, now bring mobile library vans back on the road. It became exciting for the global audience. And so in 2021, we were declared the United Nations Public Service Awards Institution of the Year. We also declared the Library of the Year. And then UNESCO which recommended us as the United Nations Public Service Award recipient, also recognized Accra as a World Book Capital because they believed Ghana had grown over the last few years to be able to undertake a lot of initiatives that can actually increase interest among Ghanaian population on books. And so for Ghana Library Authority, we have a number of course, in programs to be able to organize, which we've commenced since April. Key among them is, of course, still working to be able to increase the network of public libraries across the country, because we believe that Accra, being the World Book Capital, provides us a platform and the opportunity to network with a lot more institutions that can provide us with the to be able to do what our mandate directs us to do. Of course, we also think that we need to make sure that a lot more Ghanaians have access to our resources, which of course when we increase them. And so in working to be able to increase the number of resources at our disposal, of course the books, we also must also increase interest. And for which reason this year we've performed so well that by the end of this year over 2 million people would have visited and used the public library network across the country. Of course, we also are undertaking personality readings where we bring prominent individuals in our society to the library space to be able to read and engage with library patrons, you know, across the country. We have a lot of thought leadership seminars that will also be coming up, because we believe that the conversation on public libraries, you know, must take place around this time to be able to amplify the enormous contribution of public libraries to not only education but also the economic transformation of this country. I mean, if you go to several countries, they use the library spaces for a lot of things. I mean, look at this huge building here. I mean, I always tell my people that we are underutilizing our spaces. In most advanced countries, you know, the library spaces, they're able to move the shelves to the corners and just have a lot of event, because you see, the library space is to connect citizens to knowledge. The knowledge can be in the book, the knowledge can be in the cloud, the knowledge can be in people, the knowledge can also be transferred through experiment. And so you should be able to make your library environment so conducive to be able to even practicalize some of the things that you are reading. If you go to Toronto Public Library, there's, you know, there's a chef who is teaching people, you know, they have catering books teaching people how to prepare meals. You know, you reading the book and just applying what you are reading the books. If you go to Cologne Public Library, they teach people sewing. They go there, you know, people borrow a lot of resources there, you know, STEM corners. You heard of about what do we call it, tool library. So people are able to borrow equipment from the libraries. And so there is really a lot of things that a library in a community, based on the community needs, can be able to respond to them. And that for us is where some of the conversation around public library should be heading towards, so that we don't only be known for having books in the room for people to just come to our spaces to sit and just have access to some of our books, but also connected spaces, spaces for experiential learning, spaces for engagement and building, you know, the youth and adult alike.
And I think as we work on the reading culture in Ghana, it will build a certain interest. Because of my own background, I mean, I am contemplating putting up a space, a library space in where I live. Because I have, if I'm not mistaken, thousands of books.
Oh, wow.
Personal books.
Oh, wow.
Some inherited, a lot of them taken up. So, but I ask myself, even having this conversation, how many of those in a certain category who would even be considered middle class or elite in this country would even have 100 books to boast of? So that's something to look at. But you also got me thinking, before we talk about the initiatives of the Ghana Library Authority, you've also won some awards. In fact, in 2021, you were talking about that. I want us to look at those awards you won. But let me just sneak this in. As you spoke about the books in different places, I remember the last time I went through the Schiphol Airport. They have an airport library.
Yes, airport library there.
I found that interesting. This is just by the way.
Yes,
you go there and you take a look at a few things, and it's one of the brilliant ways of selling your country and your culture and whatever you
You
stand
put Ghanaian
for.
published
So
works
my
there.
challenge to you then, Ifotiao,
Yes, yes.
what I want to see next, some such
Some-
stuff,
no, yeah.
whether mobile or not, at our airports. Now the Tamale Airport is, it's
beautiful.
opening.
Yeah.
There's the whole airport.
Yeah.
There's Accra. So
Yeah.
over to you, Joe Latte, or over to you, Ifotiao.
We will come to that later before you start criticizing and making books available to the elite people. Let me
No, I'm
finish.
saying, I know, that is why I'm saying I'm throwing that challenge to you. But of course, you have to do what the basics are.
We'll get there.
And then we'll get there. But let's talk about 2021 and the awards that you
Yeah,
won
so
as an authority.
yeah, so I made reference to that in my preamble to the Accra World Book Capital. So of course, Ghana Library Authority, when this government took over the management of this institution, previously in 2007, UNESCO had donated some mobile vans to us. Unfortunately, they were not functioning. They had issues broken down here and there, scattered across the country. There were 10 of them. So in 2018, we decided to work on the van and get them on the road. And then we were with Ghana Investment Fund for Electronic Communication to also put computers in these vans. So the vans were moving across the length and breadth of this country with books and computers in there. And UNESCO, through some means, nominated us for United Nations Public Service Awards in 2021. That during the COVID era, they saw our books going around the country, not only making books available to the citizens of Ghana, but also making computers available to them. I mean, when we visit a school, for example, the school do not have, computer lab or something like that, we make our laptops available to the ICT teachers. They're able to use it for experiential learning with the kids. And so United Nations saw that as a unique way of including people who otherwise would not have been part of the digital ecosystem. And so they recognize our work as one of the most innovative public institutions that is trying to bring equity and inclusion within the technology education space. And that was why we were sent, to receive that award on behalf of the Republic of Ghana. And then the London International Book Fair Excellence Awards, also we were nominated, as the Library of the Year in the finals with Croatia and Kenya. And by the grace of God, Ghana came on top, and declared as the Library of the Year.
I see. And, that's interesting because when you think of, there are some powerhouses. Ghana used to be such a powerhouse.
Yes.
I mean, when you think of the days of the beautiful ones are not yet born.
Yes.
Interesting because you can't miss that, the way they spell beautiful with a Y in there. And you think of Kenyan authors, prominent among them, Thiongo among others, and how far they've come. That would be quite a feat for Ghana to, in this era, do that. But beyond all of these, what other achievements, what other initiatives has the Ghana Library Authority? I mean, as I speak to you now, what is afoot for the GLA?
Well, there's a lot of things. I mean, if you look at the institution of Ghana Library Authority, I gave you an indication that in 2018 we needed to come up with a strategic plan, knowing the dire situation we've inherited. We needed to be able to bring back the spirit of public libraries in Ghana. And as at today, we can confidently say that we've achieved a lot out of that. Prominent among them, expanding the footprint of public libraries, which I earlier mentioned to inherit a network of only 61 libraries for 30 million population. I gave you the comparison with other countries, and it was really not the best. Currently at 118. Phenomenal. Never in any part of Africa has, within a period of 5 years, the library network has been increased by more than 50. Never. We've managed to be able to achieve that. look at the books on the shelf.
Were you doing this, ticking, was it a bucket list, or let me do this so that I set some sort of record, or were you actually hoping to impact? I mean, were you doing this like, Charlie, make I do this, then you could say Charlie at the work?
No.
Or
no,
is this actually impacting something?
Okay, so you know that my background, I mean, I have been a social entrepreneur since 2005. I have been committed to development in various aspects. I was working for myself before coming into Ghana Library. I was running library programs. I was supporting schools with books shipped from all over the world. And so it has always been a passion. My passion has always been make an impact, but to as many people as possible.
Right.
And so coming into Ghana Library and being given this huge institution to manage, I thought this was a unique opportunity to make really an impact. So yes, you've inherited 61 libraries. Between 1981 to 2017, we've only increased library network by 25, which was really, really nothing to write home about. Now, within a period of 5 years, we've increased by 57. We also thought that, of course, I told you earlier that the number of books on the shelf was nothing to write home about. To be able to increase network of public library, books on the shelf of public library by over 1 million,
the internal base. You would get some from here, but you would get a lot of support from outside as well. Who are some of the partners that have aided you in this enterprise? And then again, do you feel we've got to the point then, on the back of what you mentioned, the department coming back and all of that, that now the authority and books and reading and the establishment of libraries is becoming a real part of national development? Do you get what I mean?
Yes. I mean, for the first time, a political party in Ghana, the New Patriotic Party, made a commitment to be able to support the development of public library. Never, you can Google from 1950, no political party manifesto have they mentioned public library as a contribution. Today, if you listen to the message of His Excellency the Vice President across the country, he will tell you the number of public libraries we've managed to establish in this country. If you look at the number of MPs that are pushing for the establishment of public libraries in their communities, unbelievable. Never, I mean, people have been working here for 40 years. Never in the history has MPs been rushing to be able to, And
when you say MPs, I hope it's from both sides.
Unfortunately, during my time, it's only been the New Patriotic Party MPs. We've only Dr. Matthew Poku.
Why do you think that is?
Honorable Asenso Boakye, Honorable Afenyo Makin, Honorable Esther Kufu. I mean, it's only been them.
Are you not open to minority MPs?
We are open. Some people write for me to give them books to go and donate to schools. So of course we've been supporting them, but we believe that they should also try to work with their MCs to use some of their common fund to also be able to establish libraries, just like the other MPs within the New Patriotic Party have been doing. So I think for now, we've managed to build the interest, and it's also because of some of the opportunity you have been giving to me, especially you. I mean, since your days with class, you were calling me to come and talk about libraries, and so that communication we've managed to do it has increased a lot of interest. Recently, I did a write-up for publication in Daily Graphic, and out of that, we got responses from some corporate leaders in this country who approached us to support us to establish libraries within their hometowns, and so we have seen an enormous increase in interest. We have telecom companies, MTN and Vodafone, all supporting. We have Newmont Ghana supporting. We have Global Fund, Book Aid International also supporting us to be able to. There's a group within World Bank. It's called World Bank Family Foundation. Also, coming in to also support us to be able to get more books to get to our citizens. And so we've really been experiencing such a huge interest, especially in terms of donation of books. In programs and project implementation also, we've had some grants here and there, UNICEF, UNESCO, and all of those other partners coming in to support us to be able to undertake some of the very good projects we've been embarking on, at least over the last few years.
Another thing I will say is that oftentimes whatever development we think of, and in this instance we are talking of libraries and capacity building in different forms, we focus too much in the urban areas. We think Ghana is Accra. So I am hoping that by and by we'll expand even further into the most remote areas of our country. But how exactly has the authority harnessed technology to, brought it to the fore in terms of making books accessible
Yes.
to I mean, there was this project, I've just forgotten the name, back when I was on radio and my book show was running. They also had this thing going on where people could access books
Is it
and
World
all
Reader?
of that. World Reader.
Yes, yes.
World Reader. They actually parted me on my show then.
Okay.
So what has the drive been like, technologically speaking?
So, making reference to our strategic plan, one of the thematic area that our growth strategies was anchored on was on technology. And I can tell you that we are really one of the public agencies with a solid hands-on technology use to benefit the people of Ghana. We have a team in-house managing even our whole digital infrastructure. One, key services that we provide, book services, making books available to the Ghanaian public. We've managed to establish a digital library app, and so for the first time, if you are watching me, we have a digital library app. Go on your Play Store, your App Store, just search Ghana Library. The app will pop up, download them and install it. And for the first time, you can be able to get a library card number sitting at home. An automatic library card number is generated and a temporary password is generated for you. You can be able to log in and you can have access to books, not only ebooks, but also audiobooks and even video tutorials. So in 2020, when COVID happened, the then Minister, Dr. Matthew Poku-Prempeh, gave a directive to us that enhance your library app and put all the video tutorials that GES and the Center for Distance and Open Schooling had developed. And so at that time, St. Louis had developed, video content for senior high school, but senior high school students needed a code to be able to log in and all of that. So it was not really...
It was a bit cumbersome.
It was a bit cumbersome. We put all of those video tutorials on our app. We got Vodafone and MTN to zero-rate the platform. And so as of today, when you download our app and you're watching video, you are listening to audiobooks or you are reading ebooks, you don't pay for data charges. And
Oh, I see.
Yes.
So if someone downloads those right now,
Yes.
and they're using MTN or Vodafone,
yes.
it means a zero rating.
Zero
They can watch all these videos
They can
and
watch
stuff.
all of these educational
Without
videos
losing any
without
data.
losing any data.
I see.
And actually, some parents are using some of the videos as extra classes for their kids. And so you go to grade 2, you see a grade 2 science tutorial that has been taught by an expert teacher of GES, and you can let your children watch those videos. And so we've created that environment available to the Ghanaian public. We've also, for the ISBN, I told you in the time, before 2018, you needed to go to, if you are in Bolga, you needed to come to Accra to be able to get an ISBN number. Today, you can sit at the comfort of your home and be able to upload your manuscript and apply for an ISBN, and it is issued to you. And so we've managed to use technology and to make our services accessible to the Ghanaian public. We've done I told you about the laptops that are available on our mobile library vans, so that schools who otherwise will not have access to practical ICT lessons, at least the teachers can use the devices we've provided for teaching. And then within the static library spaces, we needed to be able to connect them to internet. So here, there's Wi-Fi here. If you go to most of our libraries, not all the libraries, but most of our libraries have connectivity. Now internet is available. We have also computers there. We have created technology hubs in collaboration with Vodafone and GIFIC, where we put computers there, connected them to the internet, and we do teaching there, basic ICT courses also for the citizens of Ghana. Ghana Library Authority work is to connect citizens to knowledge. We also believe that knowledge also resides in the cloud. And so we've also been undertaking, giving Ghanaians the opportunity to do distance learning courses through massive open online course platforms. So through a partnership with the Commonwealth of Learning, we are able to sponsor Ghanaians to go on Coursera. When you use Coursera to learn,
EDX, among others.
Yes, you will pay to get a certificate. Through Commonwealth of Learning, we have a program on the Google Grow where Google has identified about 5 key courses that they need a lot of people skilled in, user experience in project management and all of those. So we're able to get people go online, take up these courses, and get their certificate. Over 40,000 Ghanaians have so far benefited.
How come I didn't know? Because I started the project management bit. I didn't have time, so at a point I had to cut off because they were. Then I'll be coming on board.
No. We can get
I'll be
you
coming on board.
Yeah, we can get you on the next cohort.
I've always been interested in adding to my skill set and picking some of these things.
Yes,
you add them as you go along,
and
that's what life is all about. But as we get ready to conclude the conversation, and I'll not forget to talk about politics. Maybe you're hoping I'll not go there, but I will. But let's. I want to also look at this point. I mean, I'm sure you've heard of the central bank and its own wahala, so to speak, in terms of spending and overshooting this target and that target, even as we were hoping for an IMF-supported program. And then in recent times, Shraj has also come under a bit of fire in terms of the Auditor Generals and all of that. If you look at the figures, it tells you that across a lot of these authorities, state-owned enterprises and all of that, a lot is going on. So I'm putting your feet to the fire. How are you dealing with those situations in terms of accountability, in terms of cost, in terms of how you run your activities here? I know I've taken you
no, it's okay.
by surprise on that one, but I just want to know.
So, Ghana Library Authority is a subvented institution, so we don't raise our money to have the freedom to spend the way we want. So every maybe October or so, thereabout, we'll prepare a budget based on estimate that, and send it to our board. Our board will review. And if they accept, then I'll push it to the ministry, go and defend what the authority management and board has agreed on to undertake. And if the ministry agrees, then they will go with me.
By ministry, you mean the finance ministry?
Ministry of Education.
Or education.
Yes.
Okay, so you are directly under education.
We are directly
and
under
then
education.
And they have to
go,
finance ministry.
Yes, so they have to go with us to Ministry of Finance to be able to also show to them that this is what Ghana Library Authority envisages to do, and then they will capture it, present it to Parliament. Then we will go to Parliament, also defend our budget, whilst giving, of course, making a presentation on how we spent previous money they approved for us. And so there is this, whole procedures in place to ensure that.
So it is clear a system is in place, but between what you often present and what you get, is there a gap?
Oh yeah, of course, definitely. I mean,
wide gap?
Because of course, government gives to us as and when they raise money. We are subvented, so every quarter government releases what they have been able to release, and so maybe government said I will give you 2 Ghana cedi, they will end up giving you 50 pesos. So that's really how it works.
What was your budget for this year? What did the board approve? Well, this isn't a question.
Okay.
I mean, to give us a fair idea of where you are headed in terms of the authority, vis-a-vis what you also get into the kitty.
If my memory will serve me right,
I'm sure it will.
It's about almost 15 million Ghana cedis. 15
million. Yes, so far, about how much have you got?
Maybe I have to check. Maybe around 8-9
million.
Yes.
Okay, interesting. Let's talk politics now. I don't know, but a lot of you in institutions who have been appointed CEOs and the rest, all of you are veering into politics. And a little bird whispered to me that, hey, Hayford is also lacing his boots. Is that correct information?
Well, I belong to the Elephant Party. And the Elephant Party believed in developing people, and giving opportunity for everyone to be able to participate in the political process. We are anticipating that nominations will be open sometime in December. People are approaching me with some ideas.
People are approaching you?
Yeah, it's the constituency that is calling for me to be able to come and help.
Your constituency?
Yes, my constituency. They are really
which constituency
calling me to make a decision, which I have not yet made. In Salmadoji constituency.
Oh, I see. Wow, that makes me. You have some heavyweights to contend with, if that's where you're looking.
But I mean,
Within your party and within-
heavyweight, what does it mean?
Oh, I like that. Oh, okay, okay. But listen, there
For
are
me,
others who have come before you,
but let me-
and the Frank Anodon Prez and others have obviously been there. This would be his what, third term?
This is his third term.
Yes, this is his third term. And of course, there's also the other, the opposition,
Yes.
and those parties that would want to take that seat. So obviously, when I talk of heavyweights in there, it is the opposition, and it is within your own party. If you're going for the primary, unless you have information that we don't, in
Well-
terms of whether Frank would even want to go.
Yeah,
again.
I have no idea.
You have no
And
idea.
I have not made the decision also to contest or not. But the party within Nsaman Wajiri is not doing so well. I mean, if you look at our performance over the years, it's been just coming down. With the recent elections, His Excellency the President won by almost 7,000 margin.
While the parliamentary.
While the parliamentary did less than 3,000. So you have to understand the causative factors and be able to see how do you address them. Over the years, has there been an attempt within the constituency to be able to address those challenges that got us to be able to lose over 10,000 votes within the parliamentary elections. And if you are able to do a very fair and objective analysis, you will also come to the conclusion that not much has been done, by current leaders to be able to address the systemic challenges within the constituency. And so that's probably why a lot of the leaders in the constituency, are calling for a new face to represent the party. Because I think over the period, research has always shown that, bring a new face, bring new energy within the political party, and is able to excite people, and they're able to, vote for the new candidates.
And of course, if I talk of parliamentary elections, I'll definitely talk about the presidential as well. The group of 10 is lacing its boots to go for the super delegates enterprise, if you like, and 5 of them will make the cut. Is there anyone you are backing, supporting,
Who am I? Is there somebody
are you going to be like Chebawu to me and ask?
Who am I?
No, he has a way of saying it. He says it a different way. But let's leave that out. What is your take within your party? Because now that's the next big thing, and breaking the 8 is contingent on the sort of candidate you present,
yes.
and whether that candidate can go toe to toe with the other candidates coming from different parties.